You've never voted? This is making Snoop Dogg vote.
I had a
Snoop
vote.
Dogg's never voted.
Has he?
He's never voted, but he said he's going to vote this time around because he doesn't want Trump back in office.
Well, I've never
This
voted.
election is very important.
So that's what I was explaining to him. If you early vote, then you can go to any poll that's nearest you, or any poll, open poll. But if you wait until last minute and you do your voting on the day the last day to vote, then you have to go to your designated precinct.
Now, what I was watching the other day on, I mean, I know social media, you can't believe everything on social media, but there was something where they were closing down in certain towns or states, you know, so people won't go in to vote. And those states or those towns that were closing the voter doors or whatever were where black people were, you know what I mean? Because apparently they were saying that they didn't want the black people to vote. I mean, does that really happen in elections? Is that really true?
They weren't saying that they didn't want black people to vote. They were saying that they didn't want people to come out and vote in the particular area because they're more susceptible to getting the coronavirus. So if they shut them down, then they're not. But the thing about it this year is this election is a lot of states want to do mail-in votes so that you don't have to go out. You just send your vote by mail and then
Wade was just saying, the news was saying that you can't do that, but you can?
You can. In a roundabout way, yes. They can't come out. It's illegal to say we don't want these people to vote. But what they can do, especially right now with the coronavirus and all that stuff, they can set up, like in this city, there will be one polling place because we don't have the resources. They can come up with any kind of argument why they can only have one place. But what that forces people to do is if you want to vote, you have to go here to this place. You have to stand in line. You have to wait for a couple hours. That's inconvenient, especially if you have to work. And now with the coronavirus and stuff, people don't want to go to these places where everyone's standing around for a couple hours. So sometimes people are like, well, I'm just not going to vote. It's not worth my health. It's not worth me dying, you know? And so you don't get as many people to turn up and vote. And that they typically do that in communities of color. And the reason for that is generally people of color tend to vote for the Democratic candidate.
And that's what the Republicans don't want.
Exactly. Now, if they made mail-in ballots, if they made mail-in voting a wider choice, then a lot more people are going to vote because I don't have to get up and go anywhere. They send me my ballot in the mail. I can tell you who I want and drop it right back in the mail. That's easy. You know, so it's not inconvenient to anybody. It's very convenient. And so what happens then is you get a lot more people voting than you might typically get because it's so much more convenient.
I kind of feel like right now too about like how, and I said this way a long time ago too when Donald Trump got elected, that he was going to divide a lot of, like he was gonna, you know, because the way his slogan was just, you know, make America great again. And then all of a sudden all these white people, you know, were, you know, especially the poor class, and you could tell, you know, like, you know, hillbilly. I mean, I'm not trying to sound, I mean, I'm stereotyping. Is that the word? I'm stereotyping these people. I'm not trying to. But those are the ones that are like literally, okay, you know.
Entitled. People that typically, historically, have been in positions of, wow, I don't want to use the word superiority, but positions of power or in charge, you know. And I mean, think about it. You went from having Obama as president, the first black president, for 8 years, you know, and that really threatened a lot of white people. You know, so much so that they turned around and so I think in 2016, people were looking for drastic change. And it was either Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders had a lot of momentum. And had it been those two, I think there's a really good chance Bernie Sanders would have won. However, the Democrats, the Democratic Party, had already had in their mind that Hillary Clinton was going to be the candidate. No matter what the people wanted, Hillary Clinton's the one. and again, this is all just my opinion. I can't prove any of it. So, so Hillary Clinton's the candidate, and she's got so much baggage. You know, again, if you read and do the research or whatever, she's got a lot of baggage behind her. You know, she's just got a lot of history of things she said, things she's done. Being married to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was impeached, you know, for having an affair behind her back, you know, and she stayed married to him. So she's just got her own issues that a lot of people don't like.
And plus, she's a woman, and a lot of men up there, you know, top, whatever you call them, you know, in politics, didn't want to see a woman president.
Yeah.
More or less see a black man president, but they would rather have a black man president instead of a woman.
They would just rather have a man than a woman.
Yeah,
right.
Period.
Because,
Which is sexist.
Well, because they didn't want other countries, I feel like, to see us as like oh, they got a woman, you know, running their.
And what do you think other countries think about us now that we have Cheeto head?
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, I think that's what a lot of it was. I think, right? I mean,
honestly,
the man can't see a woman run a country or something, and we look weak or something.
This
right?
is my thought on it. We really haven't come that far in this world, in this nation, because yes, although years ago we had slaves and slavery and stuff, there were, you know, white people had slaves, but that was racist. You couldn't. We had segregation. Black people couldn't use white people's restrooms, and they couldn't do this. But when you look at it, we really haven't come that far. Look at where we're at now. What they're saying, you know, Black Lives Matter, is what they've been saying a long time ago. So we haven't come far at all. We may have had lots of presidents, and we may be all these things, but the big picture, in my mind, we have not moved far as a country, as this nation. It's my thought. You know, that's why people found it hard for a black president, because they were still stuck on he's black. He should have been a slave. He you know, he's not nothing. He's beneath us. But we're still in the same position we've always been for years. And to me, that's just disheartening, because I honestly thought we had gotten far, but we really hadn't. And even with women, it's only been a couple hundred years at least, if not that. 1912, what was it? 1920, when the women got the right to vote.
Women got the right to vote after black men.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on a documentary about our nation.
So women haven't really come that far either, and just so.
Well, I mean, I would think y'all have. I mean, we had a woman that was in a presidential, you know, election. Like, she was there. You know,
Sarah Palin?
No.
What? Because that was not a. What?
Hillary.
But
She was there with all those men. She went through debates and all that. Like, she made it up there. Like, for, you know, she was like maybe the second woman to try to run for president, because Sarah was like trying to be the first, right?
Vice
She was
president.
vice president.
Oh.
And back in the 80s, Geraldine Ferraro was a vice presidential candidate for, well, it might have been 80s, I think. Walter Mondale, I
Is she
think.
a female?
Mm-hmm. Well, I keep wondering.
I mean, I don't
I
think-
want to make sure and reiterate my personal feelings, but a chocolate-covered turd is better than Donald Trump. So
What do
whether,
you mean chocolate-covered turd?
like a fucking inanimate object made of shit with chocolate dripped on top of it would be better than Donald Trump.
I thought something totally different.
I understood what he said.
Now, that being said, this election that's coming up, I think, you know, there are a lot of people, and you've seen it on social media, where you know, whoever the Democratic candidate is, you know, vote for that person. It may not be the person we like, may not be the person we want.
Which is Ben, right, or something like that. Who's
Joe
Joe
Biden.
Biden.
Joe Biden.
But I feel like either way we're screwed though, because like you're gonna
No.
vote for one weirdo
No.
and another weirdo.
No. That's wrong. That's
Well, I would rather have Joe than Trump, obviously. But
Joe Biden. So
he seems weird.
I would tell you before. Don't take, if other people say Biden's weird, do your research. Okay? Read for yourself. Like my own mother. My own mother talks about, well, he's senile, he's losing his mind. Joe Biden when Joe Biden was younger, he stuttered. He had a terrible stutter. He had to learn to overcome that to be able to speak in front of people so that he could eventually become a politician. So yeah, occasionally he still gets caught up and has his speech impediment, and what he does when people say he's going senile. No, he's mentally resetting his speech pattern so that he can continue to talk.
I didn't even know he had a speech problem.
So that's what I'm saying.
Weird? Is that why they're calling him weirdo or whatever?
People say, he's going senile and this and that. Now, is he a perfect candidate? No, there were people that wanted.
But I don't feel like we're ever gonna have a perfect candidate because no one's ever gonna be perfect.
No, because there's not any one candidate that is going to make everybody happy. But you have to do your research, and you have to find the person that fits your beliefs the best and support that person the best you can. In the end, the system of government that we have now as Americans, we have a two-party system, and our founding fathers said we should not have any kind of political parties, but we do. We've fallen into that.
And
So,
they're divided,
yeah.
especially with Trump right now.
Well, that's why they didn't want political parties, because it divides everybody up. And I tell my students this: the biggest problem we've had as human beings, ever since we came out of the fucking trees and started walking on the ground, is the biggest difference we have is us and them. If my group of monkeys, we don't live in the trees anymore. We walk on the ground and we have to find our own food. That group of monkeys still lives in the trees. Well, they're different. And if they're different, they are not us. They're not us, that's them. And so because of that difference, they're not as good as us, And that's the problem. That's political parties, that's nations, that's races,
So
And
has it always been that way with Democrats and Republicans?
No.
From 1800s or whatever, whenever they start. When did that
There-
even become a thing?
When they first came, when George Washington was president, and when they did the Constitution and all of that, and all of these are where we are. Our founding fathers never wanted us to be the way we are. They did not want us to do what we're doing right now. They wanted all of us to be the same, on equal playing ground, everything equal. Slow as new presidents come in and new people start coming in, and we start all doing. We've now created what we have, right?
Man of power.
well,
Change that type of.
somewhat. I mean, they didn't want political parties because it would put people against each other. But just the sheer fact that they established the Electoral College. We're the only nation in the world that has the Electoral College.
What is that?
The Electoral College says that
That's how Trump.
I go and cast my vote for whoever, and you go and cast your vote for whoever. But my vote goes into a pool, your vote goes into a pool, and people chosen by the governor go and cast the vote for the state based on who has the biggest pool. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not a direct election. If it was a direct democracy, Hillary Clinton would be Hillary Clinton would be president. She won the popular vote. She got more votes than Donald Trump.
So then, how do we have
But-
electoral
But it
college?
wasn't up to the.
But the Electoral College is based on the population of your state as to how many electors you get.
The bigger the state, the more electoral
The
college.
more populous the state, the more population, the more people that live there. And so that's why candidates
we run the government.
tend to pay attention
people.
to Florida, Texas, California, states like that. Now, California has been a Democratic state for a long time, so they don't spend a whole lot of time there. Hillary Clinton doesn't spend a lot of time there because she pretty much counts on California anyway. Trump doesn't spend a lot of time there because he knows he's not going to win California. So that's when you get what they call battleground states, Florida, Texas, and other states depending on the election year. So we have a representative democracy. We cast our vote, and then the chosen electors go and cast the vote for the state based on how we vote. So if your vote counts for one and my vote counts for one, in the state, like if we're voting for governor or whatever, that's a direct election. If you get more votes than I get, you win. But for the president, it's not like that.
So that's why it's important to vote for not only your president, but for your judges, your senators, your mayors. Like, it's important to.
It's very important. I would argue that it's probably even more important because before somebody gets to be president, usually, I mean, Trump's an isolated case, but they work their way up through the state politics. The things that Donald Trump wants to do as president, all he does is sign off on the paper. Our government works. Congress, the House of Representatives, comes up with an idea. I think this should be a law. They write it down on paper. They pass it to the Senate. The Senate reads it. The Senate says, yes, we think it should be a law. They might change it. They might not. If they agree to it, they send it back to the House of Representatives. House of Representatives says, yes, we're all in agreement. We all sign it. Send it to the president. He signs it, and it becomes a law, right?
So it's not just up to him. It's up to the whole.
He doesn't actually make laws.
Yeah, all he does is sign it and says, yes, this is good. Now, the Democrats have the House of Representatives. We think it should be a law. Everybody does this. Everybody does that. They pass it to the Senate. Republicans have the Senate. And so currently, right now, Mitch McConnell's in charge. And
he's a Republican.
Exactly. So these Democratic ideas, we think this should be a law. It gets passed up to the Senate. Mitch McConnell says, no, we're not going to vote on that. Or if he says, here's our version of it, and he'll pass something concerning the same situation, but the law it'll look totally different. And so then they try to. It's designed so that they're all supposed to work together for the good of the country. But right now, with political parties, everybody's too polarized to really do anything. So Trump can't sign a whole lot of laws because these two houses of Congress cannot agree on anything. Now, it would be funny, it wouldn't be funny, but in a twisted way, it would be interesting if Trump won re-election and shut up and listen and stays president for 4 more years, but the Democrats take control of the Senate, because then the House and the Senate are both Democratic, and they would be passing all sorts of bills and laws and changing things the way America runs, and they would send it to the president for him to sign, and he's not going to sign any of it. You know?
Could that happen, though?
It could happen.
Yeah.
It could very well happen.
So the Senate, the bunch of the people in the Senate, like the members of the Senate's representatives, they're all up for re-election. A lot of them, that's their time. They only serve a certain amount of time. So a bunch of them are up right now. And that's what they're saying is a lot of the early votings that are happening in different states are showing that the representatives, the Republicans that are in the Senate now they're flipping them. They're turning them to Democrats now. So they're taking over. They're going to take over their seats. Well, they have to have a certain amount of seats to declare a Democratic House or Democratic Senate. So that's what everybody's worried about now, because the president is going to happen. We're going to vote for a new president. That's just what's going to happen. But every 4 years,
Senate is every 6 years.
Every 6 years we get new senators. And every 6 years, that's a big voting thing, because we need to pick new people for that term. So a
When
bunch
does
of
that
these
come up? That
right now.
So there's elections every 2 years, right? Because congressmen, their term of office is 2 years. So they're constantly running for re-election. Nancy Pelosi, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, 2 years. Every 2 years they have to be re-elected. A senator is every 6 years. Your congressman is based on the population of your state. So Texas may have, I don't know. But every state only has 2 senators. So because of that, they get to stay in Senate longer, every 6 years. So they're not all up for re-election at the same time. With every state having 2 senators, there's only 100 senators in the Senate. And right now there are 53 Republicans and 47 Democrats. All you need to be able to control the Senate really is like 51. I mean, if you just want a straight majority, it's 51. So the Democratic Party needs to win. They need to hold on to what they have, but they need to win an additional 4 or 5 seats in the Senate just to have
Control.
And so then if that was to happen and Trump still stays as president, now you're going to have Congress, House of Representatives and the Senate passing laws that he's not going to sign. And so then it gets interesting because if he refuses to sign it, they can still become law if Congress votes on it a second time and says, yeah, we want this to be a law. Then it still becomes a law whether or not he signs it.
Man, if he does win again and that does happen, I could just imagine how many baby fits he's gonna fucking be throwing.
That's what I'm saying. Wouldn't it? It'd be great because he would go fucking ape shit. I mean, he'd be fucking like a monkey in the zoo slinging shit. You know?
That's
But
crazy.
realistically, I hope he doesn't get reelected.
I hope
It's
so, either.
the polls and stuff look like he's not gonna be reelected, but you know,
With this Kanye West thing happening, what do you
Jesus
think?
Christ, that's what we need.
Somebody just, who was it? Was it one of y'all? Did I see it somewhere where it
How
said
did they get the play?
they're doing this as a publicity stunt to try to swing votes away from the Sanders guy, or what's his name?
Biden.
Biden guy. Like,
They're trying to get the younger crowds to say, oh, we're gonna vote for Kanye, which takes away from Biden's and try to
Can
give
he
him
actually run?
to Trump.
that's what I heard too. I heard that he can't really run because of.
We already have 2 candidates, and he's not.
But
a
Trump is
third-party
not.
He can run.
Trump's not a declared.
What they were saying something about, somebody was saying something about he cannot run in certain states because of some certain rules or something about. What was it? I can't remember what I read it.
He's got to officially file with the Federal Elections Commission. I think there's a fee involved with that, which he can pay the fee, but then as far as getting on the ballot in some states, it's not.
I think that's what it was. Something
Yeah.
about the ballots in some states that.
So
Because I guess because he's not.
right now he said it, but until he starts taking the official steps to do it, I'm not going to throw any fucking credence behind
it.
it.
Seems like they're just like they said they're trying to. It's a stunt for Trump, you know, to swing votes more his way and away from the other guy,
Biden.
Biden.
Are we boring you there, Ping?
Yes.
Poor
I
guy.
just think that people need to be wise and, like Wayden said, do your research. Think about, don't listen to one person. Do your own research. Just look at all the candidates and see what they have to offer. You have to do your research and start with your local officials. because they make your local laws. They make all of your
Like your judges, your
all,
mayors,
not even your governor, your mayors, your local city officials, our mayor,
The people on your school board.
people on your school board.
You know?
They make all these things that go on, these laws, these rules about what you can and can't have. That's why when you saw the start of the pandemic and Cheeto Head was like, well, I'm gonna leave it to the governors to make their call on their states because they carry more weight than the president does.
The 10th Amendment says anything that the Constitution does not cover for the government, that authority falls back on the states. So it gives the states powers. If the government doesn't specifically say, hey, this is our area of expertise, it belongs to the states.
So that's why it's important to vote in your elections, your city, your states, your counties, all of those things. There's your railroad commissioners. You do your homework, research. I know when my very first time voting for the first 2 years, not the first 2 years, but the first 2 times I voted, this is years ago when they put all the candidates in the newspaper. And they used to give like a little blurb of the candidate. Mm-hmm. The candidate would give their blurb. This is in Austin. And I would take that I would do my research, circle the candidate I wanted for county commission or whatever. I would take that into the poll and vote off exactly what I had done my research on. Now they don't do it anymore. They might do it online, but I don't know. But yes. I do my research. I make sure I know I'm well equipped. I don't say I'm a liberal and I don't say I'm a Democrat and I don't say I'm a Republican. I vote for a right candidate. The candidate that suits me the most, that falls in line with my beliefs.
I think Joe
But
Exotic.
typically that's not a fucking Republican. That's for me. Yeah.
It's not a Republican. But
because Republicans are for the rich. They're trying to keep the rich and middle class.
There's no middle class. You're either up here or you're down here. The middle class is gone. There's nothing in between there right now.
So where are we at?
We're down here, buddy.
Okay, but I like what Obama did with affordable health care because I feel like everyone should be able to afford health care.
But in other countries, it's free, not affordable.
Yeah, but I'm just saying everyone should have health care because, like, what if you were in a different position and couldn't afford health care? You would want to be someone that could afford it. So I feel like it should be like a basic right for everyone.
That's another thing too with what I've heard of when Obamacare happened. There were some people that were angry about it because there were some people that were paying $300 and something for it, and then there were some people that were paying like 90 something for it or whatever. Like I don't get why one person was paying 3 something and the other person was paying 90
because it's
something.
based on your income. It was based on your income. So if you were made $100,000, well, yeah, you're gonna pay more for insurance than someone who didn't make but $20,000.
Well, and another aspect of it was there were people that had insurance that they paid for, but the insurance plan they had, it was not very good, you know. Typically young people, 24, 25, you don't have a lot of health issues. So you'll get the bare minimum insurance plan, rolling the dice and betting that nothing bad's going to happen to you. And for the most part, it doesn't, But if you have that bare minimum insurance plan because that's the cheapest one you can get, and then, you happen to find out, guess what? You have leukemia, you're fucked.